Well. Welcome back to the Always Free podcast, guys. I hope you're doing well. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if it's the first time you're listening, go back to episode 1, start there. You'll get the most from this if you start there. If you're not new, you're in for a treat because we've got Kirk. How you doing, Kirk?
Pleasure to be here, Jason, in this magnificent studio.
Oh, man, it's great to have you on. And I'm sure what we're going to talk about today has a lot of crossover. Because at the end of the day, it's all, whether it's money or health and fitness or health and wellness, it's all psychology at the end of the day. It's how we treat ourselves, right? And I've been looking forward to this one because they're so closely correlated. In fact, wealth comes from an old English word, welle, which means well-being. And people say to me that how does money and health, correlate? And that's how, because the more you have your finances in order, the more you structure, the more security you can provide, the more creative, more calm, more poised, more caring, more loving you are as a human being. If you're in poverty, you're going to be scratching around, you're going to be scarce mindset, you're going to be, a person that you don't want to be. So, mate, what is it that you would say that you help people do best?
Firstly, thank you for having me on the podcast. But in one sentence, we help successful entrepreneurs, high performers get and stay, the keyword stay, in the best physical or mental shape of their life.
Right.
My program, my brand, my service is called Built to Last. It's based on lasting change.
Sustainability. Yeah.
100%. I don't want someone to look good, perform well in short bursts. I want people to look, feel and perform well month to month, year round.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing more disempowering as a man and a woman, but certainly as a man, where you're feeling good. And just as you alluded to there, everything's internal. Everything we do is for a feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're feeling good for a few months and then, whether it's due to your system or lack of belief, which we can touch on today, you end up falling backwards or worse. And why is this so important to me? How someone feels about themselves internally, their physical shape, their confidence, their mindset. That is going to have a direct impact on every single area of their life.
Yeah.
I'm a new father, got a little girl. She joined us 4 weeks away. And as much as I was aware, of course, having coached so many people, Jason, with family, how important health was for them, I can really say it with even more conviction now that if I'm healthy and I'm strong and I'm feeling confident, then the people in my life and that little girl that has come into my life, they've got more chance of a happier, more confident future as a result of me looking after me. So the value hierarchy of why I'm in shape and why I want to help people has changed dramatically from when I was in my early 20s, which I'm sure we can unpack.
Yeah.
But I just, in the same way, Jace, when you're helping people live life in their own terms and live with freedom emotionally as well as financially, because like you said, they work together. I'm doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
I really believe you can have it all as long as you've got certain
I believe
systems.
you can have it all as well, man. And I think freedom is a word that people just associate with money a lot of the time, but freedom's just not being a slave to something that's stopping you from living your full potential, who you feel you're best at. And I think if you've got things that hold you back from achieving the body you want or getting the relationship you want or whatever, you're not free because you've got those chains. You've got
Yep.
You've got chains around you that are stopping you from getting what you want. So
It will show up.
Yeah,
Show up.
It
It's a great
always
episode
does.
for anyone who hasn't listened to Jason's episode on my podcast. It will show up.
Yeah,
Show up in how you live, how you spend, how you behave. And there's no judgment on this because my story. Anyone listening to this, they might look at my social content and they see the body. I've got a good business, great relationship, beautiful little girl. Now you think, okay, Kurt's got this polished life. The reason I'm so passionate about what I do is because I've also been the guy, Jason, that has had the six pack. Front end might have looked a certain way, but after I got released by Coventry at the age of 20, even though I had the body, internally I had zero confidence. and I was lacking purpose, didn't have money, wasn't happy with my relationship with myself. It was exhausting on the front end. So, yeah, this isn't just about the body, because I've literally, I'll just shoot from the hip just to kick us off here. Jace, I won the men's health competition in 2010. They used to do a yearly cover model competition, and you imagine you're on a magazine which a lot of men would love to be on, right? And I'm on the front cover of Men's Health. I just won this competition, and that same evening, because I wasn't happy with where my life was at, wasn't living with a purpose. I was a plumber at that point, and I went on this earth to be a plumber with the greatest respect to them. I win a Men's Health competition. You're on the shelves. Next day, I got 2 covers off that, and absolutely steaming drunk on that same night, and then doing drugs in the toilet on literally a life-changing moment, because I wasn't happy with myself. So,
wow.
Which is brutally honest, I know, but I'm as black and white as they come. So for me, there's 3 pillars, mate, to what we are trying to do with every client. It's the physical, it's the mental, and the emotional.
And is that kind of what made you transition into what you do now? Like, where did that come from? Because you was obviously out there very narcissistically working on yourself for yourself, but at some point you transition into really helping other people.
Yep.
How did that come about?
Yeah, look, the original dream, for anyone who doesn't know me, I was to be a professional footballer. Right? That dream was going super smooth. From the moment I could talk, walk, kick a football, I got pretty good quick. Picked up my Coventry at 10.
Completed it.
No, I wouldn't say that far, right? But I'm a Manchester United fan, as I shared with you and your boy earlier. And if you'd have said to me, what do you want to do and who do you want to be, when you could talk, walk, and was aware of life, it would have been, I want to be a Manchester United footballer.
Right.
Okay. At the age of 13, I get a phone call. Picture the scene. My dad comes into the bedroom. We had bunk beds at the time. From council estate background, similar to yourself. So very humble but proud upbringing. And my dad's so excited. He's scribbling on a piece of paper. Man United scout. Anyway, long story short, he gets off the phone. He's like, Manchester United want you to go up to Manchester, sign schoolboy forms. Not guaranteed pro, but you do well over that 2 years from 14 to 16, and then you could be a professional at Man United. Coventry found out, and they offered me a Gordon Strachan. You remember the Scottish manager? He turns up at the training ground about a week later. And Gordon Strachan, first team manager, does not turn up at an under 13 training session. And he pulls me away and he said, Kirk, we know Manchester United have called your house. We don't want you going anywhere. We want to sit down and offer you a deal. And I tried to deny it. But listen, anyway, 2 choices. Do I take the safe option, which was guaranteed professional footballer? So at 13, I knew when I left school I'd be a professional footballer if I signed for Coventry. Or take the uncomfortable, the riskier option, the one really that I wanted to do but wasn't brave enough. I take the safe option. Fast forward 7 years, I get released in a 20-second conversation by Gary McAllister saying, Kirk, unfortunately, you're not good enough. We're not getting another deal. So where this all plays a part is, the only reason I turned to Manchester United was because of my belief system. Because Kirk Miller from Council Estate Coventry didn't quite believe, when it mattered most, that he was good enough. Because I made a story up for years, Jace. I blame my mum and my parents. They said, what about your studies if you move up to Manchester? And think about how many times I would have ignored my parents for asking me to do something, or their opinion. But I conveniently made a story up.
It made it fit, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So when I got released by Coventry at 20, that was the second lesson, second opportunity in life, Jace, to do you take the safe option, which was do a normal job, which I did, retrain as a plumber, or do you take an uncomfortable option, probably somewhat related to your passion or your purpose, which looking back was glaringly obvious, to probably go into coaching and helping people? I take the safe option, get lost in life as a plumber for 5 or 6 years. Nothing against plumbers. And like I said, during that period, Jace, I'm in shape. And I was basically, looking back, Jace, I was the person, if you would have trained me during that period, I was always leading the session.
Right.
So I'm personal training without getting paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you just said, my whole identity was based on, at that point, because I'd lost it I'd attached my whole identity to being a footballer, my physique. That was the confidence blanket.
Yeah.
So I would go as far as saying, from the age of 13 to 26, right, my belief system was dramatically holding me back in my pursuit to be a footballer. And then further still in life from the age of 20, 26, got pushed into doing that men's health competition. I didn't even do the write-up. And she pushed me into it. And look, thankfully, I received a phone call. There's 7 of us that made it. And I don't know what it was, Jace. I knew I was going to win.
Right.
It was a feeling because I'd done a little bit of personal development work the year before, stopped playing the victim, stopped blaming circumstance, and started looking at, okay, what do I want?
Yeah.
All the stuff you talk
Believing in
about,
yourself,
believe in
yeah.
myself and go, right, yeah. And I just went, you know what, I'm going to be 100% me on this final with Men's Health, and I won the competition. But that was my cue, very long-winded way of saying that was the 3rd time in my life, Jace, of, are you going to take the comfortable option, which is stay as a plumber, be safe, and you keep ticking along, or you take a chance on yourself? And I quit my job, Jace, with 5 hours personal training. I didn't want to go into a gym where they provide you with clients. It was that moment, what you should do becomes a must do, because I just weren't willing to, tolerate my life at that point. I was anything but happy for the future at that point. And I just knew in my heart I could help people.
Yeah.
And I know you speak about this in your message, which I think is so true. Yes, you might look at my social media and go, I look at all these physical transformations, but I'm selling belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm transferring belief because I didn't have it at 13 and I didn't have it at 20. And I don't want people to have to wait 13 years. Like, I don't even wait a month to shift that, let alone 13 years, which I do. And look, fast forward to now, I've gone from personal training in Coventry, being a big fish in a small pond, being capped out at how many people I could work with, then started online coaching, didn't have a clue about business and systems and the actual broader picture of what it takes to transform someone. With respect to personal trainers, if all your sole value to, or even if you've got a personal trainer, there's no judgment, but like if their sole value is training, and training isn't the reason you're not where you are, it could be down to your food, your emotions, you need to look at the bigger picture. So I've evolved from a very one-dimensional personal trainer, very good at motivating, winging my way to online as an online coach, even though I could get results, to now building a genuine infrastructure and business where we've got a coaching team, we do live events, and it's an experience and an emotional, mental upgrade. I'm selling and delivering, not just a physical transformation, because as I've just shared in my story, I've been the guy that's been ripped, had record covers, and been terribly miserable. And I think this relates to a lot of people who, they might have the big bank balance, but deep down internally, they're not where they want to be, and they're buying things they don't need or think will impress other people that do not give a fuck about them.
Yeah. Yeah, or give them a quick fix.
Yeah, it's a quick dopamine hit. Exactly.
Like the pedestal you was put on Men's Health magazine, right? It's okay. Yeah, it was great to have that on the front cover, but it wasn't that was providing true fulfillment and happiness.
No. Absolutely.
So you mentioned you've built a business now that's sustainable, that goes back to your approach to your body, right?
Yes.
Building something that's sustainable and the plans that you do. So there's congruency in what you're doing in your day-to-day life. You've now become a dad, which you're going to be congruent in that, I'm sure.
Yep.
Sustainable relationships, future. You mentioned that you decided to work with CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners in particular, and that niche. And I think, well, you must agree that people don't have that sustainability view. They kind of treat their body like they do their business. It's like I work on one piece of it, or I'll have these big blowouts, and why can't people prioritize building a sustainable, healthy body just the way that they can't do that in business or finances? Why do you think that is?
Well, it might be down to, is it a skill issue? Is it a will issue? Is it an environment issue? I'm going to try and paint a mental visual diagram in people listening to this. If you're listening to this as audio or watching this back, let me just explain the reasons why I believe so many people are being failed, or so many people are struggling to get in shape, stay in shape, and they continually yo-yoing and go backwards. If it's as simple as get a plan, train, eat well, sleep well, drink your water, get your steps in, why aren't people doing it? Okay, there's 3 reasons. It's emotional, a lack of belief, an environment issue. Emotional, belief, environment, all of these 3 things, would you agree, influence our decision making?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But to go even deeper than that, if it's not one of those things and you're still not where you want to be, is it another layer underneath that? And this might ruffle feathers, but ultimately, as I've just shared with my story, what you do and who you spend time with and the relationships you're in are also going to dictate our behavior. So if you've had the plan or got the plan, know you need to train, eat, sleep, drink your water, get your steps in, they're called the core drivers, and you're scratching your head going, why? Is it emotional? Because you cannot be physically consistent if you're emotionally reactive or emotionally inconsistent. It's impossible, because state drives decisions,
Yep.
right? And ultimately, your decisions shape how you look and how you perform, all that stuff. Then is it a belief issue because you failed a few times, or because someone labeled you something, or you labeled yourself at a young age, and then you're going to find a way to meet that identity in some way, right? Then you've got environment, the people you spend time with, the places you go in. You must have heard the book, James Clear, Atomic Habits. Mm-hmm. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. But then the layer underneath that, are you in the right relationship that's aligned to your values and that allows you to be you, 100% authentically you?
Yeah.
Right? Again, there's zero judgment on this. I know I've been in relationships that I should have tapped out of early, both for their sake and my sake. So there's and when you're in the wrong relationship and you're not being honest with yourself or that person, you're going to find a way to meet your needs in disempowering ways and destructive ways if that relationship is not meeting your needs.
Yeah.
Right? We have beliefs, we have values, right? They can fluctuate, but needs are needs that need to be met.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So you've got the relationships. Is that the thing standing in your way? Is it your personal relationship, or is it even your friendships? Okay. Is it the family dynamic? Is it your career? Are you actually happy with what you do?
Yeah.
If people are doing something anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 hours a week, right, and they don't like it, or it doesn't inspire them, and I know you speak about this heavily, you are going to do things to meet your needs because your professional career is not meeting your needs. That happened to me, Jace, as I've just shared. From the age of 20 to 26, I knew that getting fucked up and taking drugs every weekend was not good for me.
No, but it was an escape.
It was an escape because I wasn't taking responsibility for the fact I was in a career that was not aligned to my authentic self and aligned to my values.
Yeah.
Then lastly, and maybe this ties in with that anyway, it's purpose. I, like you, mate, in my field, I've done stats. We've got stats, data, audits on clients that transform, stay in shape, those that don't. The clients who are living with purpose and are being 100% authentic, all right, they're not perfect, but their behavior and consistency with those core drivers that I just shared, you know, the training, the food, the movement, you're far more likely to implement those things.
Because they're more consistent.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all of these things, the reason why, and I know you echo this, you know, even on my podcast when you're on about the belief and actually doing stuff that inspires you, time goes quick. And when you're enjoying what you do and you're enjoying spending time with the people you spend time with, you're less likely to rely on quick fix dopamine. To fuck up that process.
Yeah.
And look, if you do get past that part of the puzzle, right? So imagine that checklist, right? Evaluate right now. Okay. Do I have a plan? Yes or no? Do I know how to train to meet my expectations of how I want to look? Yes or no? Do I know how to eat to meet my expectations? Yes or no? Do I know how much I need to move to meet my goal? Yes or no? Do I know I need to drink water, sleep? If the answer is yes, and you're still not where you want to be, rate on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you actually believe you can change? 10 being you have unwavering belief that you can achieve that. Your emotional consistency, how emotionally consistent are you? 10 or 1. Same with your environment. Is your environment, if you had to put that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I've got an environment which is aligned to my values and is helping my behavior. And then evaluate the same with your relationships, your purpose, and look at what is the one area, if you improve that, would make a massive difference on your implementation of those core drivers to look a certain way. And some people might be listening to this and go, okay, I'm aware of all that. And sometimes I'm physically transformed short term, but couldn't sustain it. Okay. They haven't conditioned it as their actual identity.
Yeah.
It has to be, you have to view yourself as, I am a healthy person. I am someone who's in shape. You speak heavily in your message, Jay, don't you, about language. Words shape your beliefs, and your habits are going to be aligned to those beliefs.
Definitely.
And that's why you have to condition that as your identity over and over again. Doesn't mean to be perfect. What helps condition that is environment.
Yeah.
Period.
And this is why I wanted you. I thought it'd be so great to have you on the show, because there's such a correlation here, and I think your standards in yourself dictate your standards in everything, because you're the most important person in the world to you.
Yeah.
And if you don't have high standards on yourself, or standards that you believe and deserve that you can be, then what hope have you got elsewhere? And I think that's where you see the fluctuations in, or such drastic differences in success levels between relationships or finances or wealth or business or health and wellness. So you said, here's an example of where this fits. A lot of people, the emotion side of things, they'll be in some level of poverty. They can barely afford to pay the rent, and the first thing they'll do is go and buy a Bitcoin, right? Or go and put some money into something that is very high speculation. And as a result of doing that, their emotions will be driving them to worry about it. And that is what will jeopardize them getting the results that a normal investor will just put the money in and make the returns.
Yeah.
Same investment, same amount of money.
Yeah.
But because your emotions are driving it, you're gonna lose. It's gonna deteriorate your wealth. And the same goes for you said emotion, you said environment. If you're around people who don't earn the income that you want, or haven't solved the certain tax challenges that you might face at that level that where you want to go, then how do you expect to get there yourself? It's like there's a saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time around. And I know that kind of gets banded around a bit, but from the research that I've done on that, it's pretty spot on. So if you look at who you spend your time around, look at their body, look at their standards of themselves, look at how they talk to their wife or mum or kids, or look at how they hold themselves, and ask yourself, is that who you want to be in the future? Because if the answer is no, you probably want to start changing who you spend most time around. Environment is one of the most important things to dictate how healthy you are. Look at drug dealers. I mean, they drug addicts. Sorry, they take drugs because they're surrounded by people who take drugs. You put them in to an environment where they don't take drugs, and they don't take drugs. That's been proven over and over again. But one of the things that's fascinating about you is you was on this pedestal of Men's Health magazine, and you was in the supreme shape, best shape. You didn't really see yourself as success at that point, and you weren't earning the money that you wanted to earn, right? So something had to happen between that and then making more money.
Well, I'll give you some context.
What happened there?
I'll give you some context, Jace. When I first started personal training, I was shit scared to ask for £45 an hour.
Right.
Even though I knew...
Is that after Men's Health? Or before?
That was around the same time, So I won Men's Health, and then within 9 months, I'd got my qualifications as a PT, and then had to start getting clients. But I remember thinking, and it was, again, that limiting belief that I hadn't worked on.
And why £45 an hour?
Thankfully, I had some half-decent advice off someone who had been in business a little bit longer, because I was literally going to charge £25 an hour because that's what everyone else was charging.
Going rate.
Yeah. And then she said to me, Kirk, even though you're new to it, you've pretty much you've dedicated health and fitness your whole life. You know what I mean? And I've got evidence that I can show people, because I've never been out of shape. If I can do it, this is what I can teach you to do as well. So I remember first asking for £45. That's nearly double what other people, especially in Coventry, with that money mindset, which can hold people back sometimes. So, but that was what I thought my worth was. But I was still so apprehensive. And then it's the same thing happened, Jace, when I first started working as an online coach. I remember the prospect of asking someone, I think £100 maybe, for a diet plan and a phone call with me was like, oh God, I'm not seeing them though. The perception was of value was based on, I need to exchange like physical time. I need to be with them in person, which was nonsense. But again, rewind back to my upbringing. Like my dad, bless him, like they've got such a phenomenal work ethic, but it always, again, worked in factories and stuff. And so that was all I knew. So then when you're trying to ask people for money to provide a solution online but I look back now and look, we're a premium service since I built to last. You know, we're thousands to work with. Why has there been such a dramatic increase of price of what it costs to work with us now? Because I've done the work, I've upskilled, and I've got shitloads of evidence that I can solve a problem that people struggle for decades. And when someone's worked with us, they never need to invest again, as long as they're committed, they're coachable, they ask for help. So it was enormous amount of personal development work.
Yeah.
And then a constant state of improvement mentality. If something can be done better for our clients, our service, or I need to get better, it gets done.
Yeah.
I think who, not how. So Jace, to give you some context, like, people are coming to us first and foremost to transform physically. Right? Even though I know they need the emotional and the mental work, they don't care about that.
They want the six pack first.
Yeah, if they want the fat loss, they want to feel better, right? But because I know how important the emotional side is, not only have I done shitloads of personal development work, we've got a world-leading emotional wellbeing expert upskilling our team in this area, because I know this is so important in terms of shifting someone's belief and transforming them. Yeah. So if I'm doing all this work and trying to create a pinpoint model, systems, and an infrastructure where I know what I'm good at, I know what my team are good at, and I've got external experts either coming to speak, educate, like, why should I possibly charge what other people are doing when I've poured so much back in to create a solution that I believe is industry leading? So it's investment. You talk about talking to an investor. I've invested relentlessly into skills, into mentorship, to create the systems, the model I have. And I think who, not how, if there's a gap that I see within our service. Yeah. And that's what gives you the confidence to then ask for more money.
Yeah.
You know?
So people know what they want. They want a six pack.
Yeah.
They don't know what they need to do to get the six pack, because if they did, they'd already have it, right? So, and what I mean by that is there are nuances and things like the emotion side, the mental side. If you tried to sell that to someone, they would probably zone out, because they're not even looking at that. They're not even looking for that. They're looking for the six pack, right? So I'm thinking of this from a what I do with people as well. They just want financial freedom, but they don't actually know what that looks like in terms of a journey. Mm-hmm. Where do you start with someone who just comes to you and says, look, I run a business, I can't possibly see where I could fit this in, but I've seen your abs and I want some of that. Do you think you can help me? How do you break the conversation into laying out what they need without them going, oh, that's not what I need, you know?
First and foremost, it's pretty simple, Jace. I need to understand that person's world, right? Personally, professionally, socially. Like, how does this person currently live versus how would this person love to live?
Right. But so if they're listening now and they are that person,
like, firstly, like, what do you really value in life? What do you value? Who do you value? What's important? And other than a physical transformation or the fat loss, how is your life being held back because you're not healthy? Like, who is being affected? Yeah. It might be your relationship. It might be your children, because a lot of people and this might be very direct, but I don't care. A lot of people say, I'll do anything for my children. But would you be healthy? Can you be present? And no one's perfect, by the way, but can you be present? Can you be energized when you're with them? Because if you're drained of energy, you're overweight, you're out of shape, there's no way you can bring the best of you to those you love. So firstly, get clear on like, what do I value? Who do I value? And the way you currently look, how healthy you actually are or not, is that in alignment with who and what you say you value and is important to you?
Yeah.
Because I could say to you, I sit down with every person listening to this going, okay, I'm going to show you the plan, show the blueprint, show you the system, show you the demonstration of how we can help you. I know we can do that. We've got results to back it up. But if you don't really get clear on the deeper emotional benefit to you and your life and your future, then you're never going to implement the things I asked you to do. You need to be aware of the consequences if you don't change, and then the benefits on your life if you do.
Yeah.
That has to be the buy-in, because the system, like I've just shared, with the belief and the emotions, all this stuff, I don't want to persuade anyone to transform who doesn't want to transform. No. I can't help you,
No, and it's all about priorities and prioritization and values. And if you feel like you're in a position where you need to do it, right? But
I think you said it on my podcast, Jason. This is where I think there's so much crossover. If someone is saying it's a priority, if I could wave a magic wand, and if I could wave a magic wand, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be in shape, I'll be full of energy, full of confidence. If I was to look at your calendar, would that demonstrate that those priorities and that outcome that you said you want, would your calendar demonstrate that that is really what you want?
Yeah. Because
I can look at someone's calendar of a client and they say, I can't get 3 sessions in. Okay, can you please show me your calendar? In 168 hours in a week, minus sleep, minus time with your missus, your kids, and whatever else you've got going on, if you can't find time for 3 sessions a week and some movement, it's not important to you.
Yeah, it's not important.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I say the same with what I do, but there are ways that you can increase the priority, and it is like Kirk said, you go beyond you. So it's like, write down as many ways that this will benefit you if you do sort it out. So I do it with wealth building. Like, who's it affecting?
Yep.
You can't possibly be present with your kids and family if you are worried about your money all the time. But the other side is, how will it serve who you want to be more and enhance more of who you really are if you change, if you make it better? So how will having your money and finances in order improve your relationships, your business, your sense of well-being, your spirituality, your friends, your community, your family, your business, whatever. And the same goes for your health, right? Health's just as important. Like, I actually put health and finance bang on par, because you need to be well to live, and everything costs money. So
Jace, I've worked with some enormously wealthy people. If you're not mobile, you're in pain, and you've got no energy, you cannot enjoy the fruits of your labor.
No, absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
And this isn't about being ripped. Like I've shared, I'm a father now. My number one goal isn't to be ripped. I want to be in shape year round. But the big thing I want is energy, because you can't maximize those 168 hours in a week if you don't have energy.
Yeah.
You simply can't. But what I would say, just to have some actionable tactics. So someone might be going, I really want this, but how do I fit this in? And I know you shared very similar, Jace, when it comes to wealth on the podcast you did with me. Have a minimum set of non-negotiables and standards that even on the busiest week, this is exactly what I will do in my training.
Yeah.
Even on the busiest week, this is exactly how much movement I'm going to get in.
Yeah.
Like, have a top threshold, which would be an ideal scenario. So that's like the best case scenario. And then a minimum non-negotiable set of standards. Because, and my clients will relate to this if they're listening. There's 52 weekends. There's 52 weeks in a year. I'm yet to coach anybody that can have a perfect week where you get the perfect training sessions in eat perfect. I'm going through that right now. My sleep pattern, because I want to help Gabby, you know, with the baby and be very hands-on this first few weeks, is all over the shop.
Yeah.
I knew that. So I've had to adapt my expectation and adapt my system, knowing that I'm not going to be doing longer sessions right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be eating inch perfect. I'm not going to have every single day where I can get all my steps in. So what I would do, if you know in your heart you want to be healthier, create some momentum, right? Firstly, get clear on, okay, what even if you just said over the next week, break it down really granular. In a week's time, how would you love to feel? What would represent success? What is your expectation? Like, what's an outcome expectation that would make you feel good? And then you've got inputs towards that. So then you look at your week and go, in relation to my week, where can I schedule some sessions in, and how long do I actually have? Right? What is the minimum non-negotiables that, even if you had curveballs, allow for things happening? How can I schedule 3 sessions in, for example? And rather than thinking about trying to do an hour workout, can you literally do 3 20 minutes? That would be your minimum non-negotiable set standards. You might have another week where you've got less on. You turn the tap up and you can do a longer session. Great. But if you can float between that best case scenario and minimum non-negotiable, you're never going to be off it.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of the biggest traits that I see in business owners, entrepreneurs, they're all or nothing. If they can't do something perfect, they don't do it at all. Waiting for the perfect time, perfect conditions. It's bullshit. It doesn't happen.
Right.
Right? So that's one core driver of your training. Same with your steps. Look at everything as a weekly total. Right? What are the total weekly steps you need to do? And I'll relay this to investment terms. Where do you want to spend more steps? Where do you want to conserve more steps? And again, just have a best case scenario. And even if you are absolutely stacked, how can you get 6K steps in a day? Or, 42,000 across the week? And then same with your food. You do not need a diet plan to get in shape. You don't. There's 4 ways to manage food: diet plan, tracking calories, habits of guideline, or outsourcing food. Pick the method which is complementary to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? Give you an example. When I was mid-20s and I was on the front cover of Men's Health, I was in an environment where the belief was you needed to eat like a bodybuilder to be in shape. It was 6 meals a day. Have you ever done this? Yeah. Every 3 hours, right? Weighed everything out, right? Don't get me wrong, it'd be a phenomenal system if that's all you've got to do and think about. So I would have 6 meals a day. Fast forward now, I don't want to live like that. I haven't got time to eat 6 meals a day, and I don't want to, but I still have an expectation of an outcome of being in shape and looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think I've managed that, but there's a different system. I've made it complementary to my lifestyle. And this is what entrepreneurs need to know and learn is, if you are consistently falling off it with your food and you tried the diet plans, the diet plan isn't what you need. You need a simplified solution to help you manage food based on your life.
Yeah.
And I think, because I always want to come on podcast, Jason, add some actionable tactics based on evidence and what I know generally works. For many people struggling with their food, I would generally manipulate your calories, whether you track or you don't, where you can have more buffer for calories in the evening.
More calories in the evening.
Well, say, for example, if someone's threshold is 2,000 calories to drop weight, the bodybuilder principle might be divide that into 5 meals and have exactly the same calories. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that works for a lot of people. I'll tell you why. Most people, including myself, after a long day at work, right, they want to eat more food because you finish your work, you're with your family, you might be out, a social event, a business event, whatever. You're not going to get change out of 300 calories on a meal out. So again, distribute your calorie distribution and portion distribution when you want to eat more and when you're not so bothered about eating a little bit less. Yeah. Universally, I would say across maybe 90% of our clients, they would probably have around anywhere from 40 to 60% of their calories in the evening, and then the other percentage, maybe 20%.
Yeah, that's I know that myself. I've years of getting to know my body and trying different things, and there'll be a week or a day where I'm really on track, smashing through it all perfectly, aligned out the calories. It gets to the evening and the wife's like, "Oh, shall I do this dinner? And I'm like, I can't really fit that in. And it's like, it doesn't really work. You know?
It's a bit like literally looking at your food, bird's eye view, and go, right, okay, what days do I want to eat more calories?
Yeah.
And what days are not so bothered about eating as much without starving? What you don't want is this, you're eating loads of calories, then you're starving, because that's an absolute car crash. Keep your protein the same every day, and then just allow more distribution of calories on the days you like to eat more food.
Yeah.
Many people, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then think where do I want to invest more with your food, and where do you want to save more? Because it's all about your averages. Mm-hmm. Same with steps. What days can you move more, move less? Everything is about your averages. Yeah. There's a quote, and I'm not going to take credit for it. You're the average of what you do, not what you do every now and then.
Yeah.
And the person who is never off it with their training, even if they're not breaking records every week, the person who never dips below, 56,000 steps, which is an average of 8,000 a day, and the person who is disciplined with pulling back on the calories a little bit around the days they like to eat more, they're doing that week to week, even if it's not perfect, will be in a better position across the calendar year than that person who is like a gazelle for 4 weeks, stick to the diet plan, get the perfect session in. Because just lastly, on food and socials, I've said this so many times, one of the reasons so many people are out of shape is they don't know how to manage their food at the weekends. I'm yet to coach anyone 40, 50, 60 with a few quid in their pocket who doesn't want to relax at the weekend with a bit more food. But that's 104 days. That's nearly a third of a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you got birthdays, Christmas, special occasions. Before you know it, you've got half to a third of a year. If we don't have to manage that a little bit smarter than what we're currently doing, it doesn't matter how good you are on those that other half of the year. You're going to be on this yo-yo and cycle. Yeah. Which is why one thing we do in Built to Last, Jace, and I don't know if you notice these things even in like trading cycles. I mean, I'll stay in my lane here for sure, but people have different habitual behavior patterns at different seasons of the year. Right?
Yep.
We've got summer coming up soon. People have emotional anchors in certain places, and when they're with friends, family, in certain environments where they just completely go to shit. Like, try and look at your year and go, let me do this as an exercise, actually. Look at the last 12 months and identify the months where you seem to fall off track, you struggle to get your sessions in, maybe drank a little bit more, and just logically evaluate, how can I be a little bit better in that month this year moving forward? Yeah. Doesn't sound sexy, might sound easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. If you just look back at the last 12 months and evaluated every single month, which months did I feel great? Another little exercise, identify why, what were you doing? What were you planning? Who were you around? How was it during those months you tended to get your sessions in? You ate a little bit well. It didn't happen by chance.
No.
But then identify the months where they didn't make you feel good and just look at, very logically, how can I improve on my previous standard? And if you can do that month to month, year round, it's a very logical process. And over time, you're going to be a lot more consistent in those months where you weren't consistent. Eventually, that's going to become easier to implement the better habits. And as a result of that, your identity will shift of, instead of being this person that's good for a few months and goes missing, you're that person that's never off it. And then, and I know you've said this yourself with some of the exercises, if you can take time, whether it's journaling or even talking out loud, like, I am a healthy person, I'm never off it, that is powerful. Yeah. And then eventually it becomes hardwired into your DNA. And just as much as a belief can be, and a damaging belief can be conditioned, you can decondition that belief and form a new belief / identity just from doing the work, even when you don't want to, but also taking time to celebrate your wins and also your increasing standards and behavior during those periods.
Yeah, yeah. I love focusing on averages. You know, I want to approximate the mean growth of the market over time, and I do that by looking at the depressions and the .com booms, and I say, right, how can I approximate the average? And I think it works both ways as well. You mentioned, like, when were you like really out of it and not performing well, but also some people do these fad diets and they take it to the extreme, and that's not sustainable
No,
either.
it's
So
not.
like try and meet somewhere in the middle and have a nice.
And you might need, Jay, sorry to interrupt there, mate, is you might need a different set of tactics during different months, because like many of our clients, for example, they'll have certain months where they're in the UK or Dubai or America where they live, but then they've got holiday homes, or you might need a tweak to your system.
Yeah. Well, in the UK, it's raining, right? And I know that I can maintain a healthy body that I love if I can get my steps in, because that's really the only variable that does go up and down. And I don't want to go out and walk in the rain in the morning at 5 o'clock. If I lived in Dubai or Spain or somewhere, I would love to go out walking every morning. So you identify that, and then I bought a treadmill that goes under my desk, and I walk on the treadmill whilst I'm working during those rainy seasons.
Yeah, but that's a growth mindset. I'm not just saying this, Jay, because I'm sat here, but you're a proactive person going, okay, I've got an expectation of weighing a certain weight, feeling a certain way, but what I don't want to do is walk outside when it's pissing down with rain.
Yeah.
That's okay. But what you've done, you've identified, I've got an expectation. It's what people need to do. It's dead easy to have expectations. But if you don't have a system and your calendar / inputs isn't moving towards that, you are going to be consistently disappointed.
Beating yourself up.
And when you consistently have an expectation that you don't meet, eventually goals become disempowering and they become meaningless. And you
resent them.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's looking very logically. And just one thing, just lastly on food, mate, because I just want to, again, pack as much value as possible. Just on food. And a great way to, because I know it's universally one of the biggest problems for everyone, right? We all love food. Humans do. I do. I've never tracked my calories. I haven't followed a meal planning God knows how many years. And this is something that I share and works for clients who buy into this. You might be like me. You run a business, you've got the family, and you have no desire to track calories, follow the meal plan. But you still care about the outcome of, looking a certain way. This is what I do. I weigh myself every single day, which there can be some people who go, oh, that's negative. No, it's not. Right? If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have a strong interest in finances. Would you agree? And money. I'm sure you look at your bank account most days or most weeks, you're paying attention to it. So if you want to be light, lean, fit, energized, it might be helpful to consider paying attention to how much you weigh. Yep. You are far likely to eat shit if you step on the scales and go, oh, I don't like that. Yeah. Okay. But at the end of each week, I evaluate my average body weight. I look myself in the mirror, or occasionally do a check-in by myself in terms of a phone. How do I look and how do I feel about how I look? Right? If I'm not happy with how I look, how I feel, and how much I weigh, or whatever metric I feel is important to me around my health, I literally look at what did I do the previous 7 days? Did I train hard enough? Did I move enough? But specifically with food, and this is what I encourage people to do if they go, I don't want to diet, but okay, can I just have something really logical to do? If at the end of each week, you're not happy with how much you weigh, how you feel, how you look, imagine putting all of your food from the previous 7 days on a table, or alcohol, basically the inputs that have affected how you look and what you weigh. And then just look at which snack, food, drink, source of calories is making the biggest dent in my calorie allowance for minimal reward. So for many people, it's going to be hyperpalatable food, sugar, snacks, processed food, booze. And then just go, if I reduced that, replaced it for something lower calories, or just removed it altogether, you're creating a very logical but predictable deduction in calories for the following 7 days. Yeah. And it's just, it takes all the overwhelm and go, I need the perfect diet. Your stats and your metric and how you feel emotionally do not lie. So if you can just look at what did I do the previous 7 days and how can I be a little bit better the next 7 days, and just continue that process. And then don't go into a week without knowing or having scheduled within my calendar, this is when I'm going to train. This is when I'm going to move. And this is when I'm going to eat, where I'm going to eat. Yeah. Right. And just continually play a little game every week. What is my expectation in a week's time? And is my system, my calendar, my process aligned to that? And the good news is you've probably done this already in business and with your finances. Certainly if you're listening to this, man, do the same. Because otherwise you're relying on hope and winging it for a better body, a lighter weight and greater health. And I'm yet to see anyone master staying in shape, relying on hope and winging it.
Yeah. Well, I always like what gets measured gets mastered. And I say, like, if you look at your bank balance every day, it will go up over time because your attention and your focus is on that. And
there's an emotional value.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an emotional value.
Yeah, your focus, you've got intention to actually do something about it. And the same with what Kirk's saying about tracking weight. On that note, I love what you say about averages. And one of the game changers for me, I do track my calories. So I do track my calories daily because that's what works for me. And I need to know, even though I pretty much eat the same thing every day, every week, because that works for me. And I'm fortunate that I am that sort of person, because I know there's a lot of people that go off of diets because they can't eat the same thing. I'm blessed that I'm not fussy with food, so I can do that. But a game changer for me was actually the Whoop, because and the reason it was a game changer is because until that point, it was always kind of theoretical on what my average calories were that I was burning. It was like, oh, if you do this many steps, or you're this height or weight, and all right, there's some maths behind it. But for me, I wanted to see the averages for myself, so I put the Whoop on, and I wasn't focused on the daily movement. I was focused on the average over the week of what
It's the best way.
What I was burning, right? And then I was like, okay, well then I'll average my calories. This if I want to maintain, take 500 off if I want to lose fat, and and that's really all I'm ever going to be doing. So I never want to gain weight.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, because I mean, I've done personality psychology tests. I'm sure you have too, and everyone's different. Some people are some people are analytical, some people are more creative. Like whether you have a garment or not, again, get clear on what is my outcome, what is my expectation, and what tools, what plan, what things are going to help me be more adherent and consistent towards that outcome. Like for some people, they might be in shape and they go, I don't need to weigh myself every day. But just like you with tracking calories, standing on the scales, even if I might have overindulged at weekend, it's a discipline thing.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, are the habits and the things I'm trying to measure myself with, are they moving me towards my expectations, or are they not? It's that simple. So there's nothing wrong with tracking calories. Many of our clients do that. But you just, all I will say is if you are doing something where you're inconsistent with that habit, you probably haven't.
Like what?
Tracking calories. Like, so for example, I work with some private clients. I've got a team who obviously manage the rest of the clients. It's very much a team effort. But I've got some of my private clients, a couple of them love tracking, a couple of them don't, but they both want to be in shape. So that from my experience depends on the personality and the lifestyle of that client. Like I've got a client called John, won't say his surname, but he's very successful, but he eats out regularly, business meetings in London, Novikov all the time. He's paying us to transform him, drop fat, be in shape. So I need some form of awareness of what he's putting in his mouth. If someone's not going to track calories, one thing we do, and it's labor intensive, but people are paying for one-to-one accountability. And ultimately, when you invest in a good coach or a mentor, they're helping you with your decision making.
Yeah.
Right. So what's going to help him with his decision making is sending pictures of everything he puts in his mouth, or sending us his menus of where he's eating out.
Right.
And we can help forward plan. He's not thinking, oh, what do I eat?
Yeah.
But one thing you can't do if you're sat listening to this and you're out of shape is like half track, and then, or sometimes I'm going to take pictures of my food, or sometimes I'm going to follow the meal plan. Like decide on that given week, what is the best method or methods, because it might be a mix of the two, that I can measure the food and evaluate the food that I put in my mouth. And it might look different on given weeks and months, but if you're scratching your head going, well, I'm not losing weight, the likelihood is you're either not tracking, or you're not even, like, you don't even know where you're going wrong yet. Yeah. There has to be some form of measuring what you put in your mouth, whether it's tracking, very analytical, or it's a visual. Because it's amazing what can happen, by the way, when you take pictures of the food you put in your mouth.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Like,
even that can stop you and make you better, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to send a photo of that, so I'll just order this instead.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where, like like there's a lot of Monday to Thursday heroes. Right? Again, you've got, if you go missing Friday, Saturday, Sunday with your health, or you're good Monday to Thursday, it's 40% of the week, give or take, that Friday to Sunday is. If I'm yet to see anyone stay in shape who decided to disregard their health and the metrics that contribute towards great health Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
It's...
What is the biggest excuse that entrepreneurs, CEOs, business owners have as to why they can't achieve the results, or their biggest concern, their biggest limiting belief as to why they might not get the results working with you?
Great question. I think one of the most common that people have is time.
Yeah.
Is time. And unfortunately, I've worked with far too many people
to believe that.
I've worked with people, Jace, that, I'll mention his name, Mustafa Sinha. He was senior vice president of Kuehne Nagel. The company turns over 35 billion a year. He was on a plane one year, 152 days. No, he did. He stayed in a hotel 152 days within a calendar year.
Right.
Across different continents, every major continent on the planet. So you imagine like his schedule in different countries, different circadian rhythms. Oh my Lord, right? Like, this was no joke. Yet he won our client of the year that year. And he had every excuse to blame: time, jet lag, tiredness, blah, blah, blah. Time's a massive issue. And coming back to the mindset side of things as well, and this is why me and my team are absolutely ruthless in evaluating stats and data. We have a phenomenal client performance system, which is as systemized as you're ever going to get it when it comes to every single week evaluating, is a client progressing, maintaining, or are they regressing, right? And what we generally find is that if a lot of people, when they first start a journey, and this might resonate with you, they're in pain, so that they're motivated at that point. They might chuck money at a problem. All right, here we go, I'm on it. Old habits die hard. Old identity dies even harder, right? What we find usually when someone is at anywhere from the 60 to 80% of their potential, that's when the belief issue, the mindset, the threshold challenge comes into play, where people have got to where they've got to before, maybe got past that a little bit, but they're still not where they want to be. Yeah. And that's where, coming back to what I shared 20 minutes ago, it's a belief issue, it's an emotional issue, it's an identity issue. And that's where, great coaching, great mentoring, you're paid to push.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to look at, okay, first of all, ask the client, does this still matter? Yeah. Is this still really important to you? Did you come here to nearly transform? Or do you want to see this through? I know it's very black and white, right? But questions, we're using questions all the time. Yeah. I'll never force anyone to do something they don't want to do. Great coaching is about making the client feel like they've made the decision to do something. Otherwise, they're going to be like some little puppet only doing something when they needs to come from within. Yeah. But that's where having some uncomfortable conversations with those type of questions is key. And so I would say time from a superficial excuse, but it comes down to, and I know you echoed this in your message, it's a belief issue, it's an identity shift. And that's where coaching, probing, like really getting granular on what future does this person want to have, and is where they're currently at, if they're 60 to 80% of their potential, is that in alignment with the future they want, the life they want, the values they have, or not?
Yeah.
And then you adjust the tactics from there.
Yeah, I think you take your foot off the gas the closer you get to your goal, and I think that's very, very. It's the same in money. It's the same with financial goals, business goals, health goals. We've got a built-in inertia that we devalue something the closer we get to it. Like if you've got no money and I give you £1, that's 100% of your net worth. Yeah. And if I say, look, I'll give you £10 if you do this job, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do that job. I give you £100, £1,000, and as your net worth goes up, if I offer you £1 to do the same job, you just be like, no, throw the £1 in the drain. I don't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And the same for health and fitness. And you hit the nail on the head. It's you have to overshoot the goal.
Yeah.
And the way you overshoot the goal is having a compelling reason as to why and how it's going to make every area of your life better, because it has to go beyond you. That's what I believe.
You have to create so much emotional leverage.
Yeah.
So much emotional leverage that if I don't see this through, this is going to hurt someone or something that really, really matters to me.
Just an example, every time I'm in the gym with my trainer and I really am struggling, I don't want to do another rep, I'm literally telling myself, if I don't do this, I'm going to be a bad dad, I'm going to be a bad father, my kids are going to fail in life. Yeah, I'm telling myself them things because it's pulling me through. It's like, I don't want to do it physically. I'm trying to survive. Every muscle's trying to cheat and, but I'm like, if I don't do this, everything's going to go to shit in my life.
100%. A great question is, when you're debating whether or not you do or don't do that thing you should do, is what would my best future self say, do, or choose in this situation?
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of the time when you fast forward and then look back, you make a more conscious decision that's in alignment with your expectation. But and you just can't bullshit yourself.
No, absolutely.
You can't bullshit yourself. It's honestly, and I'm a new father, so I'm still learning, and I know there's no universal book about how to be a good parent. But if you're a parent listening to this and you genuinely want to be the best role model for your children, they won't mirror what you say, they'll mirror what you do and how you behave. And we've got so much evidence of that.
100%.
So think of the who, the why, and that will take care of the how. It's the only way to create lasting change. Otherwise you'll be on these spurts of on it, off it. And I believe any genuine high performer, and I'm going to assume if you're listening to this, you're a high performer because you're following this man. If you're a genuine high performer and you want to be the healthiest, high performing individual for those you love and for the things you're trying to achieve, place more value on your health and fitness, because I'm yet to coach anyone whose life hasn't got better as a result of eating better, training with more intent and focus, and just managing themselves and focusing on their own agenda like they do other people's agendas.
100%. What I think that's a great note to finish on, man. And I could go on talking about this stuff for weeks. Maybe there's a part 2 in the pipeline, but in the meantime, mate, thanks for coming onto the podcast. Just let everyone know how they can find you.
No, thank you so much for having me. And if you've listened this long, hopefully you've took some value from it. I too have my own podcast, the Kirk Miller Podcast, and I had a great episode with Jason on. Very consistent with that, like yourself. If I do something, I do it. I kind of dip my toe in it. And Kirk Miller across all media platforms. And just like Jason, even if you never work with me, there's so much free value on my podcast and Instagrams and all that stuff that if you implemented that, you'd be in a better place. But if you want to get the job done quick, you know where I am.
Amazing. Well, guys, that's it for Always Free. And until next week, have a great rest of your day and weekend. And see you then.
Thank you.